You don't notice it all at once. It starts with something small, like realizing your usual meals haven't changed, your routine hasn't changed, but your body has. The scale moves slower, energy drops earlier in the day, and the things that used to work just stop working without explanation. At some point, you stop questioning the system and start assuming the problem is you. That's where most people get quietly redirected. Not toward understanding what's happening, but toward managing the symptoms of it. You're told to eat less, move more, try harder, as if the body is a simple machine that responds predictably to effort. But what's rarely acknowledged is that the system regulating your metabolism is layered, adaptive, and increasingly resistant over time. The concept being pushed lately is something called thermogenic resistance. The idea is simple on the surface but more uncomfortable when you sit with it. Your body isn't just slowing down randomly. It's actively resisting fat-burning processes it used to perform naturally. And if that's true, then most conventional solutions aren't failing because they're weak, they're failing because they're addressing the wrong layer of the problem. This is where products like CitrusBurn enter the picture, but not as a traditional supplement in the way most people think about them. It's positioned less as a stimulant or quick fix, and more as a way to influence a specific metabolic pathway, thermogenesis. Instead of forcing the system through external pressure, the idea is to remove whatever is blocking the system from functioning the way it used to. The mechanism sounds clean when presented. Compounds derived from things like Seville orange peel, green tea, and ginger are said to support the body's natural fat-burning signals. Not by overwhelming the system, but by nudging it back into a state where it can operate without resistance. It's less about adding something new, and more about restoring something that's been muted. But this is also where the line between clarity and narrative starts to blur. Because once you frame the problem as an internal block, the solution becomes something you can take, rather than something you need to understand. The system becomes a black box again, just in a different form. You're no longer fighting calories, you're now trying to activate a hidden switch. And that shift matters more than it seems, because it changes your role from someone observing and adjusting their own system, to someone relying on an external input to regulate it. Even if the input is natural, even if it's subtle, the dependency still exists. You're still outsourcing part of the process. That doesn't mean the approach is invalid. Some of the ingredients used in CitrusBurn have been studied individually for their effects on metabolism, satiety, and energy balance. Green tea compounds, for example, have been linked to increased fat oxidation, while capsaicin from red pepper has shown modest thermogenic effects. The question isn't whether these compounds do anything, it's how much they matter in the context of a real, adaptive human system. Because the body doesn't operate in isolated pathways. It compensates, it adjusts, it recalibrates constantly. What works for a few weeks can become background noise over time. And this is the part most sales pages don't dwell on: the difference between initiating a response and sustaining one. CitrusBurn tries to position itself on the side of sustainability. No stimulants, no aggressive spikes, no crash cycles. That alone separates it from a large portion of the market built on short-term intensity. But in doing so, it also asks for something people aren't always ready for: patience and consistency without immediate validation. And that's the real trade-off. You're not buying speed, you're buying the possibility of alignment. A slower, less visible shift that may or may not translate into the results being promised. It requires staying with something long enough to see if the system actually responds, rather than reacting to short-term feedback. At a certain point, the question stops being whether a product works, and starts becoming what kind of relationship you want with your own biology. Do you want something that overrides it temporarily, or something that attempts to cooperate with it, even if the results are less predictable? Because once you see the pattern, it's hard to unsee. Every solution is either increasing your dependency or increasing your understanding. Sometimes both, but rarely neither. If you've been feeling like your body stopped responding the way it used to, it might not be random. And if you're considering something like CitrusBurn, the most useful thing you can do isn't just take it, it's pay attention to what actually changes and what doesn't. There's a link below if you want to look at it more closely. Just don't approach it like another fix. Approach it like a test of how your system really behaves.